Hello, welcome to iansstudio. I'm Ian Butterfield. In this video I'm going to talk about Pixapro's tabletop 3D set, and I'm going to show you how I created an image of the Doctor and her TARDIS. Hello, I'm Ian Butterfield and welcome to iansstudio. If you are new to this channel or you're a regular viewer, if you haven't done so already, please can I just ask a favour and ask you to hit the subscribe button so that you'll get notified of future videos, and also hit the like as well. Right, let's get into our topic for this video. I'm going to look at these background sets, these 3D set pieces that come from Pixapro. I've borrowed them off Rick Bradbury, who has them on from Pixapro, where he's recording some videos for Pixapro about how to use them. So I thought I'd nick them off him basically for an afternoon and an evening and see what I could come up with them. Now, just to tell you a little bit about these 3D pieces, they come in different forms. We've got these sort of columns, the cylindrical columns. We've got cubes. We've got columns of lots of different sizes, or big columns like that. There's medium-sized columns. And if I just turn around, I can show you on the setup that I've got here some other shapes and sizes as well. Let's get those out of the way. So they're not blocking the view. We can have those on set. That's not a problem. Okay, so over here, which you can see, is the set that I've built. Now this is for the Doctor and her TARDIS. And what I've done is I've put her on a block, central, and I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting. So I've used the Pixapro arch piece, which is basically held in place by the steps there. Again, they are freestanding items. They're just leaning up against it, and I've got two other big blocks there that are also leaning up against it. What am I using for the rest of the set here? Well, the thing that you can see is my tabletop studio, which consists of two sheets of MDF, which are hinged at the back. There is a chain at the edges to stop the back just falling down. And on there, I've drilled holes to make it like a pegboard. And in those holes, I've got these little, this little bracket piece. They're basically shelf supports, but I use them to keep the paper in place on the 3D set. So let me turn back and pop that back in there so I don't lose it. And that just holds the paper in effectively a cyc or a scoop of paper, same as you would have if you were doing portraits in the studio. So that's the setup on there. Now, how am I going to light it? Well, I've decided I'm going to use sort of techniques that I've learned through working in theatre for the lighting. And if this was a theatre set, what I would be asking for would be light from behind to light that cyc at the back, and light to stream through, so it's a backlit scene. And then I'd use a spotlight to pick out my star, in this case the Doctor and the TARDIS, on the stage. So let's show you how I've done this. What I've got set up is two Pixapro Lumi 400s. On the one at the back, I've put on a set of barn doors, which is also a grid holder, and in front of that I've put a blue gel. So I'm just going to turn this light off. So we've just got the background light. Now, with something like this, I would probably start with getting the background light sorted first, so that I can see exactly where I want the light in the foreground, so I can see that. So let me just power this up and make sure I'm connected to Lightroom and take a shot. So here we can see it's a very dark image. The background is blue, it's lit that way. We can see the outline of everything, but there's no detail. And that's when we need to bring in the foreground light. So what I can do now, I can use the Pixapro trigger here to actually turn off the backlight. Let me turn that off. And now if I take the shot, we've just got the foreground light in play. So here you can see that we've just got this spotlight effect on the Doctor and the TARDIS to create that. And I'm happy with that. That's covering the area of the Doctor. So now if I turn on the light at the back again and take a shot, this time we've got both items combined, both lighting effects combined together, which gives us an image that looks like this. So we've got a little bit of spill from the front light just to lighten up the background. The TARDIS is correctly exposed. The Doctor is correctly exposed. So now let me head over into Lightroom and I'll show you the editing that needs to be done on that image. Right, so here we are in Lightroom with the image straight out of camera. It's come over through the tether link, and let's have a look at what we've got. So the first thing I can see is the exposure is good. I'm just going to zoom in. Focus good on the Doctor, and right, some basic sort of changes to it. We're going to start by choosing flash white balance on there because I want to preserve that blueness to the image. Next thing I want to do is I need to sort of straighten all this up. So we come down to transform, and I'll just try auto and see what that does. Not bad at all. It's still slightly off. Maybe guided would be the better thing. So I will choose a line down there and another line down here, and then we can level off with the top of the TARDIS. So there we go. We have a nice leveled image. If I level this as well, there we go. Right, next thing to do with this is I just want to use the Y offset. Just bring it down very slightly, and that will do on there. Put my guides back on there. Right, so now over to the basic panel. And on here, well, first of all, I'm going to just bring the clarity up a little bit on there because I want that to sort of bite in on that. I think a bit of vibrance in. Exposure, just bring the exposure up very slightly, I think. In the meantime, the shadows, just to make sure we get this detail area around the Doctor's boots in there. And the highlights, just want to preserve those. I just bring that down very slightly. And there we have more or less the finished image. But there's just a couple of things we can do in post-production on this, which will help the image look just that little bit better. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some light to the lamp on the top of the TARDIS, and I'm also going to light up the police public call box sign. So let me show you how I do that. So if I zoom in on the light first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a local adjustment brush, K, and I'm going to set the highlights up and the exposure up. I'm going to make sure the flow is high, auto mask is on, and relatively small brush, but I can now start painting in on that area, and it should just stick with the white bits to make that look illuminated. that. And I'd perhaps like to have a bit more of a yellow tint to it. So it's more of a yellowy light, a tungsteny light on there. So I can do that and just play around with that to get the right sort of level of brightness with it. Next, with the words public call box, I'm going to hold the space bar so I can drag that up. Again, I've still got the auto mask on there, and I can now use a fairly wide brush. Because I've got the auto mask, I can just click somewhere on the white bit of the P, white bit of the O, either side on there, the L, and I'm just lighting the bits that I need to be illuminated. And you can see it's also picked up on the reflection as well, simply because that's already the white colour and the auto mask is just finding that. And that looks like we've got a glow from the back of the police box, from behind the wording in the police box. So we have that. So now if I just zoom out to fit on there, we can see that looks a lot better with that. Be nice to have a little bit of light behind those windows as well, but actually that's going to be easier to do in Photoshop. So let me head over to Photoshop to do that. The way to do that now, right click on there, edit in Photoshop 2021. It takes just a moment to open it, and here we go. So I'm just going to zoom in on the windows, which is what we need on there. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick those each out as a selection area. I will do this with a lasso. Make sure the add to is set and do all of them. At this point, what you will be watching, hopefully, is a speeded up version of me doing this. One thing to note is the feather on this. I've set it to 1 pixel. So with that selected, I can create a new layer over the top, and I can then fill or paint into that a lighter colour that I want. So I take the paintbrush, brush tool, I'm going to set the colour to be yellowy white, and then because I've got a selected area, I can just paint all that into there, which makes it look illuminated. Now, to maintain the texture with that, we're going to just play with the merge. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add that as a colour rather than just the solid on there. So we have that. If I do Control D to deselect, we can see it a lot better. Now, that looks okay, but I could do with brightening it just that little bit more. So rather than redo it, all I'm going to do is I'm going to add an adjustment layer. So that adjustment layer is going to be a curves one. By alt clicking the line between, I set it just to work on layer 1, which is the lights. So I can now control that, as you can see, changing the brightness on it. So I want it to be just that little bit brighter on there, something like that. Right, that's the basic behind it, but I want to just be able to control that the yellowness of the glow from the window. I also want to create a sort of little glow as though the light's actually streaming out of there. So we do that, make sure we have the layer selected that's got the lighting on it, and with that I then create Effects, Color Overlay. And I'm going to choose a yellow colour. We appear to have already got that. Make it a bit more saturated over there. So that's starting to look like this nice warm light out of it. I can even make it just that fraction more orangey if I wanted, to something like there, like that. And then the other one I want to do is an outer glow. So if I select that, and that's what we want with that, is we want to just choose a fairly low opacity, about 50 or 60 with it, and we can control the spread. That's obviously way too far, so we just want a little bit of a spread on there, and the size, and just take that back until it just looks like it's glowing the windows. It's a subtle effect, and play around with the opacity again. So we've just got a little bit of that, and just toggle it on and off to show the difference. And it just gives it that real glow to it. It looks as though the light's now coming from behind. And finally, it'd be nice to do something similar with the light on the top of the TARDIS. So what we're going to do here is, again, we're going to use a selection. So we click the background layer, say a new layer on top of there. I'm now going to use that lasso tool. This time I want quite a wide spread on this. So I'm going to say 25 pixels, and we come out from there, and we draw out, down, back, along, out, up, back. So right, that's going to be the light streaming out from the TARDIS. So on our new layer, we can then fill that with a yellow colour, something like that. And again, if I go to the brush tool, I can just paint that in, and you can see the sort of glow that we've got out there, that soft edge to it. Now that's clearly ridiculous, but don't worry about it, we've still got more to do. So first of all, the opacity needs to come right down, just to bring that down onto there. And then the overlay, we can just go through and see what works best. Color, saturation, hue, divide, subtract. Exclusion's not bad actually for it. I'm thinking something like, yeah, overlay works nicely, that would do. Or what about screen is the other one that sometimes works. Yeah, I quite like screen actually on there. So now we've got that, again, same as before, we're just going to add a colour overlay and an outer glow to it. So effects, colour overlay, and we've got the same colour as before. We can control the opacity of it on there. So we go with that. And the outer glow, well, I'm just going to copy what we had before and drag that down onto it, and we'll just give that edge to there. So now Control D to remove that, and we've got the light pouring out of there. I think that needs to be just toned down very slightly. So we've just got this very slight glow on there to make it look as though there's something happening coming out of the light. So with that, I can then finish this, File, Exit. It will ask, do I want to save it? Yes, I do. And then that will take me back over into Lightroom. Here in Lightroom, final edit, final tweak to do on it is on effects, and I want just a little bit of a vignette on there, feather it off good and proper, and that will do nicely. And then just a little bit of sharpening. So I'm just going to zoom in so we can see what we've got. So detail, sharpening, hold the Alt key so I can see it, bring it up, a bit more on the radius, detail, and then I use the masking to make sure it's only applying to the edges and the bits that I want, which is about there. So we've now got it. And there we have our completed TARDIS with the Doctor all set up on the Pixapro tabletop 3D background blocks. And if you like the use of these blocks and would like to get a set for yourself, the link is down below this video, which will take you over to Essential Photo, which is the Pixapro website. So thanks for watching. If you found this video interesting, can I ask you to do me a favour and hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification and hit the like. Also, it would be fantastic if you could just leave me a comment so that I know you've seen it and that you've enjoyed the video. So until next time, bye for now and thanks for watching.